So this is what's left of the gig that I scrapped a couple of weeks ago. Somehow we ended up in 5 different countries in 48 hours. But these are the photos that I have to show for it. Some of them I took, some of them the children took. And as you can see, they are just a strange random collection of pieces. But this story is such a memorable one that I really feel like we need to get it down. I have got a sketch that I'm going to metrify, but I haven't picked out any papers or anything yet. We're just going to figure it out and find a way to make a layout that tells 5 countries in 48 hours. This is the sketch. There's 7 pictures on this sketch. It's from Erin Jacobson, and I have 10 photos, but because of the A4 format and my photos being smaller, sometimes I need to add additional photos to get that height. So I think I'm going to be able to make that work. I will figure out where the photos are going to go and what papers we're going to use. And I am thinking I'm maybe going to make a big pocket behind this photo, so there's the thing that we can pull out with all the details of the story in. If you have big stories and sometimes less than ideal photos, subscribe to my channel. We solve these kinds of problems every Friday. So the first thing I want to do is work out where the photos are going to go. I have got an idea in mind already. Then in terms of paper, the first paper pack that came to mind was the old Take to the Skies paper pack, which was literally aeroplane themed. So what I'm thinking is I'm probably just going to do a 1 centimetre border the whole way around. And I haven't decided yet, but sometimes when I'm metrifying, I actually don't include this type of a border and just make the border go the whole way around to give myself a little bit more breathing room. But I'm not sure if I'm going to do that yet. I think it will depend on how the photos work out, because the fact that these 3 are on a strip that's the full width of the page, that does help. So we might be able to fit this in. In the Take to the Skies, we've got some tag bits. That's a map. Where all of this happened is Europe, and that is not on this map. So we probably don't want the map paper. That then is some more map paper of the scraps that I've got left, the section that covered that. There's a topography map sort of thing, isn't it, this paper? I did wonder about this one. I've used this before for places with old buildings. So I'm just thinking of the stone for the amphitheatre. It's not bad, is it? And it actually also tones quite nicely with this airport picture. And I've got quite a lot of that, so maybe that could be a good background. If I wanted to use the cloud paper for the horizontal bar, I actually could. I have enough. And I thought it does tone quite nicely with Sky's blue backpack. And then these photos have a bluish tinge to them. The one thing that I'm less sure about is putting this very bright blue picture onto this. But maybe with a map behind it, it might work. I also have the old On the Go kit, which has been fairly well chopped at. And I wasn't hugely fond of this kit because it was very pink. And pink is not my favourite colour. But I have got a lot of scraps. I've got bits and pieces with keys and suitcases. This one has these giant luggage labels on, which could be good. Then we've got that street map, pink, this green one with the globe in, very, very travelish that. But it's just the orange as well. The orange and the pink are quite in your face. That's a smaller tag. Wonder if we could do something like that for the border, where it would only be a small amount of it. I have enough, but it might not look very nice with the beigeish colour of the brickwork that we were talking about using. Actually, if I put like a thin black in to separate the two, I think that could work. And we've got this really nice water one, which I definitely will use, but I'm not sure, because it's gorgeous, but I'm not sure it's going to work for this. That is nice, isn't it? Yeah, I'm just wondering what the blues are. I don't think they're the same blue. Let me check. So in the beach boardwalk, we've got pool party and summer splash, which are two colours that I don't think I have. And then in the take to the skies, it's boho blue, so they're not matching, but I think this blue kind of pulls out this blue, and it's not shouting at it, is it? Maybe we could just like matte this photo on that, and would that one go as well? That's the only one that I think is going to work though from this pack. Okay, so what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the stonework paper so that if I don't want to do the centimetre the whole way around on both sides, it would go up to the middle. And I'm going to cut the cloud paper across for the vertical banner that these will go on. And then we can look at lying in that paper with the tags behind it and see if we like it. I think that might work. I think the blue in the clouds, there's not too much blue in this peripheral paper that's going to cause a problem. I have got a little bit of patching to do in here, but as you can see, it's a very small amount. So I think that will be fine. I've just popped a piece of black card in behind here. I think we do need that separation. And looking at the widths of the photos, I think we can do the vertical border here for 1 centimetre. And that helps me even more with this little bit of work that I'm going to need to patch. What I have noticed though is I'm not a huge fan of the cloud paper being so low down. This is also annoying me with it sticking out. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to shrink this photo down so it's the same width as this one, and then it will be a little bit less tall, and then that will give us space to move things around. I think if I can just lift the whole thing slightly further up, that will help. I'm now going to go reprint this photo and get all these base papers positioned and stuck down. That's all the paper stuck down. I think it's coming together nicely. That background is quite bright, but I think it's okay in the small dose. And now we've got to look at putting some mats in for the photo. The sketch calls for matte around this photo and then all the photos on this side, and no mats here. But as I mentioned before, I think we have to matte this one because I don't like the wrong blue. I've got the Azure Afternoon cardstock, which I think is quite a nice match for here. It's not bad against that, and it's not bad against this. So I'm thinking just going to matte this one photo in this row, and then that just helps it stand out a bit more from the background. And then I did look at putting it in here as well, and that's also quite nice, but I don't think I want to do these all on a single mat. I think that turns into too much of the bright blue. It starts to detract away from some of the photos. I obviously had this pool type paper, which looks really nice here, but I just didn't really think it worked with the rest of them. It just feels a little bit too random, and it's kind of clashing a bit with the clouds. But I thought maybe I might just use a splash of this as an embellishment, maybe over here somewhere, so he's kind of mimicking the colour from there over to this side. And then I also have this new specialty paper that's called Lunar Luster, and it's a metallic, but it's not a high shine. It's got a sort of matte satin finish to it maybe. But obviously for a metal show, I thought metal type of paper might be quite good. So I think this looks quite nice yeah, the grey is quite similar to the grey here and these tones, and it doesn't detract. It makes it stand off the background, but it doesn't detract. I don't think I want to go for all of it. I think it just feels a bit too much. But what I have definitely decided is I'm going to make these two into a single pocket, and then I can put a good amount of journaling in behind there. And I think these also look pretty good on this lunar luster paper. I think I am going to keep a slight line between them and pop that there, and then that can be our big pocket for the journaling. So I'm definitely going to cut this one and this one, and I'm still going to have a think about this right hand side. Okay, I've almost got all the photos stuck down. I went ahead and used the blue on the back here. I think that just gives a nice little bit of separation. Sky and I played about as to which of these two mats would work best for these two pictures, but in the end we decided that the blue is the what draws your eye, and we'd rather draw our eye to a picture of me and Layla than a picture of a Roman wall. So we went that way. They're now stuck down. I mentioned that I was going to make a pocket with this, so I've currently just got it stuck onto the photo mat, and we'll do that in a second. I thought that I would use these foam adhesive strips to make this pocket. What I'm going to do is put foam around 3 sides, and then we can have a tab poking out the top that we can pull a card out with the story on. So now I'm going through and attaching the double-sided sticky foam to 3 sides of the pocket. You'll see me trimming it with my scissors that have a non-stick surface, and then this leaves sufficient space for me to be able to put a tag in behind. And then what I've decided, I'm going to have it right down, actually slightly overlapping the cloud border, and I think that will do. There was a couple of other things that I was just going to mention to you. First off, this piece of paper wasn't 100% big enough, and I ended up having to put a tiny patch in just down this edge here. You can just about see it if I draw your attention to it. And similarly, the second piece of this tag paper also wasn't quite wide enough, so I've ended up having to patch that in here and here. But it's only these 2 tiny points that you see the joins, because all the rest is behind here. So overall, I'm pretty pleased with how that's all come out. So I know what I want the title to be. Sky actually also helped me with the title. And I want to put it down here. So 48 hours, 5 countries, 1 gig. So I need to find something that's small enough to fit here. I think the mini alphabet dies are probably going to work if I do the 48 hours here, because then 5 countries can be a bit longer. So now I'm going to use my stamping platform to add a little title to the top of the tab so people know to pull it out to read the story. This is the main tab that will have the story on. I just round the corner off, find the right way to position it in the new stamping positioner, and then I take the words that say Our Story that are from a stamp set that's called Our Story. So I'm just straightening it up there to make sure that it works. Then I want to find a stamp that says Memories to put on the top of the other tab. Okay, that wasn't too painful at all. I just went to my sentiment section, and the first stamp set that I found here was this one. That it has the words in big letters, which obviously wouldn't work, but it's also got them in small scripty font, and so we've got Memories there. So I think that's going to work. So now I'm just going to do the same thing and use the black archival ink to stamp the word Memories onto the tab on this one, using the large platform lid. Yeah, I think this is in the right place. Got the letters out. I did have to use the mini alpha dies. I couldn't find any of the dies that were going to fit it on. I'm going to go ahead and stick them down now. Okay, we have got the title down, a couple of tags here. I chose this kind of rounded shape. It reminded me more of a luggage tag. Then I have cut this little shape out here, which isn't attached, but my plan is just it gets tucked there, and then we use that as the grounding spot for the embellishment. And then I have also cut that out, ready for the story. I think I've made the decision I'm not putting the thumbnail on, but I have been working on embellishment. What I have got together is some of these little textured pieces. I thought they just looked quite nice and rockish, but also kind of a bit like musical stave. So I thought we could tuck those somewhere. I've done a silver and a black one of each. Cut out a couple of little wordy bits that are lyrics from Dream Theatre songs. One says "Racing the Clock," and the other one says "Over the distance we try to make sense," which I think both of those fit in with the chaos that was this journey. Then I have some suitcases from the old Close to My Heart Are We There Yet set, and I think those colours look like some of them might work. I've got some cameras and some suitcases, cut out some aeroplanes, got a few wooden shapes, aeroplane and a suitcase, and a geotag. I popped in a couple of plectrums that I had left from the previous layout. I don't know if they'll go in, but the colours looked quite good, so I thought I may as well pop them there in case I want them. And then I've also got flags of the countries that we went to. So I don't know if this one's going to go in. This is obviously the British flag, which is where we started. And then we went to Holland. And then we were supposed to be going to France, but our flight to France was cancelled. So we ended up taking a flight to Spain so that we could get then to France in time for the gig the next day. And then on the way home, British airspace was closed, and so we had to divert to Belgium. So that's the 5 countries. So I was thinking this one would maybe go on here somehow, and then I was going to tuck this one in here, and then we can maybe have some things poking out behind. Okay, so I've popped those down there. Where I want to start is probably the planes. I've got 3, and as I said, I think one going up, and then I want one coming back down, and then I think probably the other one is probably sort of going that way. If we say that's our 3 planes, then we've got the flags. So if we're going to use the UK flag, in my mind, that's kind of poking out from here because that's the first stop. The next stop is the Netherlands, and maybe this one can go in there. I'd have to lift that back up. I've just glued that down, but I think we could do that. Then we have Spain, which I'm thinking maybe goes in this cluster, maybe not as it is. And then France possibly here, because this is actually the gig, and this was we made it to France on time. And we just have the Belgium in the right locations, if not in the right order. So Holland's back here. So have a black camera and a silver camera. I'm thinking I like black, the silver lens to put in there. Maybe we should look at the wooden icons now. So we've got a suitcase, an aeroplane, and a geotag. So I feel like this one would have to be if we're going to have a wooden aeroplane, it would have to be here because we've already got aeroplanes in the other cluster areas. Then maybe the geotag comes in here because, you know, it's the destination, it's where we were heading for. And then we've got these suitcases. I've made a crumb cake one and one out of this same paper, so maybe that one could go there. So maybe the case is up there and the camera is more like that. Maybe they're kind of going in a zigzag. That's quite cute. And then we have the guitar picks. We have a blue one. Then the other one is this green, which we don't really have a match for. I mean, it's not a million miles from this. I have got a pink one. I thought I had a pink one and then I couldn't see it. That better? Yeah, but then we got the pink and the red together. Oh, we've got the rubbery suitcases and we've got these. I think it would only be this. Hey, maybe they could all sit on that, because that has got a bit more texture to it, so that might give you just the grounding spot that you need. Everything's stuck down now. I pretty much left things where I had planned to leave them, and then I brought in the foam stickers from the On The Go, the puffy stickers, and I've used them to kind of pull together some of the colours that were missing out of each cluster. Over here I brought in a little bit of the blue and the pink and the green, and then down here I've got yellow and orange and green, and then here green and orange and yellow. So you should see that we've got most of the colours across most of the clusters now. Pretty pleased with where we've ended up. I've also popped an arrow in here because here you can see us on the front rows. Then I've written the story and I've popped it on there as planned. So I rounded that corner off to match these corners, and then I've rounded that one as well. And then that tells the story of our chaotic journeys in both directions, but how it was worth it to get to the concert. If you've enjoyed that, please give it a like, and if you want to carry on seeing more stories and layouts that work, please join the gang, and I'll see you next week for the next Focus Friday. Thank you. Bye.